Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is March 3rd, 2022. If you are watching this recording from home, we encourage you to come join us live. We meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. If you have anything you wish to discuss with the team, whether it be providing feedback for something that we're working on, you need help with using the tools, anything like that, we would love for you to join us live and we can work through it then. And you can add that discussion item down on the agenda where in the section where it says discussion topics, and we'll get to it towards the end of the meeting. If you are unable to join us live, there are other opportunities to interact with us. You can come find us in the Kubernetes Slack workspace within the Carvel channel, or on Twitter and Carvel_dev. And also, as always, you can find us on GitHub. If you have anything that you wish to comment on there, provide feedback, feel free to do so. At any point that you are interacting with us or any members of the community in any channels that I've mentioned above, please read and abide by our code of conduct. And for those that are using the Carvel tools, we would love to know more about your usage of the tools. We have this pinned issue here that you can provide those details in a comment to. You can also add your logo if you're representing a company, and we can add that to our adopters page. It's just a way for us to know more about how others are using the tools, help us work on the different tools with knowing how others are using it and improving in that way. And it also helps the community whenever they see different use cases on the value of Carvel tools in different ways that they might not have thought of before. So we would highly encourage you to drop a comment in there. We'd love to hear more about it. Those that are on the call, please add your name and any company you're representing if you haven't already done so to the attendees list. On to announcements. In case you missed it, on February 22nd, we had a webinar with Tanzu TV with one of our community members, Scott Rosenberg. He went over Carvel packaging as a unified package manager for Kubernetes. You can click on that link and you can watch the video, the recording, and get some more, demoing about Carvel. And also he throws in some TCE stuff, which is a Tanzu Community Edition. And you get to learn a little bit more about how to use our tools. And this week we have a blog coming out. I'm not sure if it has been published yet. This link doesn't go anywhere. Let's see. I know we were still reviewing it. Yeah. Great. So we have a blog that was just posted today. As a reminder, we're doing weekly content shares, and this week's content is migrate existing resources to a new kapp app by Praveen Rewar. He is a maintainer for kapp. So please go check this out, give it a read, work through it, drop us a line of any feedback or questions you might have. We would love to hear from you. And if you like this content and you want to continue seeing more of it, we want to know that too, and what other stuff you might want to hear about from the maintainers. Upcoming, we have a blog next week, or actually in 2 weeks, I believe this one's coming. Multi-environment deployment with YTT and kapp by Yash Sathya. And as a reminder, this content sharing isn't just reserved to our maintainers. We would love for the community to participate. If there's anything that you are working on that includes Carvel, or anything you find interesting that includes Carvel, anything related to it, we would love for you to share that with the community. And it can be in any type of medium that you're most comfortable with, a blog, a video, a workshop, whatever you think would be good to share that knowledge. Please sign up, add your name, topic, the medium that you're going to be sharing that content in, and a Twitter handle if you wish for us to use your handle when we tweet it out. If you have any questions about this, please reach out to us. And if you do participate, we would love to send you a t-shirt as a thank you. On to releases. We just had a couple of little minor ones here. I don't know if someone wants to go over these.
Yeah, I can talk to them real quick. The 37.1, the YTT 0.37.1 is actually a backport. It's for our long-term support. Folks who are using our minor releases, 39 has the same fix and then some. So we'd encourage you to do that. The 37.1 is only there for folks who have to stay on the 37 version. So just a friendly backport. And then the 0.40.1, that had to do with learning how GitHub does releases and they order things. When we added the 37.1, GitHub said, oh, well, that's your latest release now. Like, wait, no, we wanted 40 to be the latest release. So the cleanest, we put our heads together, the cleanest way we could possibly think of doing this, we've got a lot of machinery behind our releasing, was to just create this 40.1 release so that if you come in and ask for the latest from GitHub, you'll actually get the latest. So that's kind of all that was. Anyway, there's stuff brewing in the background, but we haven't released yet. But that's what those two are.
Really GitHub. If only there was like a button you could say, like, no, this is what we want the latest release to be. It's a good workaround. All right, moving on to status updates. Anything to call out for the project roadmap?
Maybe the only thing to add this week is we did kind of have like a casual kickoff of the signing and verification track. It's the last item in this roadmap. So just kind of kicking off the research discovery piece of this. We expect that this is a pretty big and complex topic to get into. And so that's why we do have a somewhat distant timeline for this, but just mentioning that it's getting started.
Great, thanks, Aaron. Okay, so this week, anything to call out for CAP? I know that the team's not present, but if there's anything that they're working on this week that should be called out. Nope. Okay, image package and Carvel.
Funniest thing just happened. I tried to click on my screen to unmute myself. Okay. For image package, we've been working on the describe command. I think the describe command should be pretty much ready to go. The first version of it. It's a very simple version, just provides you some YAML in text outputs, both of them. And it could be helpful for you to check what the contents of a bundle effectively are. So that has been ongoing, and I think we'll be able to merge that today and create a release somewhere in the next couple of days with this feature and also the prior feature that we talked about using transports. So I think that's it for K-build. There's nothing happened. I do believe that there was a bump of just a dependency, and that was it.
Great, thank you. kapp-controller.
So I think for kapp-controller, in some ways, the biggest news is actually the CAP team is getting ready to release a CLI. It's sort of like, so the kapp command line interface doesn't know about the packaging resource, the packaging API, and the kapp-controller CLI is a way for you to interact a little more imperatively. I know, like, when I played with it briefly, like, I thought the coolest feature that they had is this kick, so that if you need to, right now, if you have something that's reconciling and it gets stuck for some reason and you want to nudge it along, you have to cancel it and then uncancel it, or pause it and unpause it. And so they now, like, imperatively, you can interact with these packages by giving them a kick. Anyways, it does other cute things. There's going to be release notes, and anyways, it's going to be great. And I think otherwise the kapp-controller team, it's a bunch of there's a list of small things that's not immediately coming to mind, but they'll all be in our release notes.
And on that note, we'll likely cut a release next week for kapp-controller.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything going on with vendor this week?
No, I don't think so.
Secret gen controller?
No, although we'll have to take a look at those repos, but since we're cutting kapp-controller, maybe we'll cut releases there if there's some work that's been done recently since the last release for those.
Okay. Okay, YTT.
I'm working on making YTT portable to Windows by changing the library key constant. This is just fixing a bug. Set this down for a little bit while I was out, and so it's back in flight.
And I believe last community meeting was the first day that we had kicked off the validations track for YTT. Today, there is a PR, so we're making progress, and super exciting. Yeah, exclamation point.
Lots of exclamation points. Okay, I have on here a demo. Carrie, are you prepared?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I can give a
Scott, I
demo
just saw you
on
come
the
in.
blog
Sorry. Sorry, I saw Scott come in. Go for it, Carrie. Cool. I'll stop sharing my screen, Carrie, so you can start.
Cool. Cool. So I expect this demo is going to take like maybe 6 minutes or so. I'm just going to go through the blog post that was posted February 23rd about using a Carvel ArgoCD plugin. So please interrupt me if you have like small questions along the way. This is going to be pretty informal. So basically, ArgoCD was declarative continuous delivery tool for Kubernetes. It uses the GitOps philosophy of storing the desired state of the system in Git. In this blog post, the desired state of the system stored in Git is stored in YTT templates. So ArgoCD will template and deploy your configuration. So it has built-in templating engines like Helm, Customize, JSONet, KSONet. There may even be others. And then it also has like the ability to extend any of the templating engines with your own plugin. So people do this for maybe need like a specific version of Helm to be used, or a completely different templating engine, like, well, what we're going to do using YTT. So I'm going to walk us through exactly how that works. So to create a plugin with ArgoCD, you have to actually patch the ArgoCD cluster configuration. So one of these patches is the ArgoCD repo server. Basically, we need to include the YTT binary in this pod in order to be able to use it as a plugin. So what we're looking at here is the configuration for the ArgoCD deployment for the ArgoCD repo server. And you can see there's some YTT directives in here. This just controls exactly what configuration it's going to match on and then modify. So to walk you through exactly what this does, we're creating an empty directory and using this image that we publish in the VMware Tanzu GitHub organization with all of the Carvel tools. And we're going to use an init container to copy the YTT binary into that empty directory. And then mount it to the ArgoCD repo server here. And then this YTT directive is just saying if the array entry for the ArgoCD repo server already exists, we want to add to it rather than like create a new entry, since it's an array item and there can be multiple array items with the same name. We want to specifically just add to one if it already exists there. So this actually adds the binary. And then we'll have to do one other thing to just make the plugin like available to applications. I'm sort of exposing it to the cluster, to any applications you have deployed with ArgoCD. So that's patching the ArgoCD CM config map. So again, some YTT directives here matching on the config map called ArgoCD CM. If this data key is not here, that's okay. We'll add it. And the config management plugins is set up as a multi-line string. So it's actually an array entry. We're going to add to it to add a new entry called Carvel YTT. It's the name of the plugin. And the generate step, this is the step that actually templates whatever is stored in your like source Git repository. So there's like an initial step, there's a generate step, and then after that is the actual deployment to the cluster. So for generate, we're going to just run YTT-f- or for all of the files. This command can be obviously edited. You can add additional flags in here. However, it does get a little bit complicated because this is somewhat like hard-coded for the entire cluster for your ArgoCD configuration. There isn't an easy way to like dynamically pass in flags here. Say if you need to add like a data value from an environment variable. It's not easy to do it using this argument here. There is an open issue in ArgoCD that details how to do dynamic flags using environment variables. So you can use environment variables in here in this arguments, and you can also pass environment variables from your application. So not covered here, but if you're interested, there is an open issue in ArgoCD for that. Cool. So let's deploy it. Create the namespace for ArgoCD, and then we're going to actually deploy ArgoCD along with those patches that we just saw. So using kapp to deploy an app, which we're going to name Argo, into the namespace ArgoCD. And we're using YTT to add these two overlays that we just described above. And actually, let me show you. So here I have these overlays in a repository here. They're not in the website, but they're the exact same code. So let me just show you. This is just like what we saw. So when we do run this command, we're going to apply those overlays to version 2.25 of ArgoCD. And then the output that you see here is kapp. So it's making us acknowledge the changes that will be applied to the cluster. So it's going to create all of these resources needed to install ArgoCD. So yes, and let that apply. It's going to take a second. So now we actually need to create an application that we can use with the Carvel plugin, right? So the example configuration I'm using is, I have it here in my other terminal tab, is the Carvel simple app on Kubernetes. It's a repository in the VMware Tanzu organization that has a bunch of examples on how to use various Carvel tools. And the one that we'll be using is config step 2. So it's got two files, config and values, which I'll just show you what they look like. They're pretty simple. So the values file that we have here is in YTT format. It's got this data values annotation at the top, and it's got hello message stranger. And in our config file, we've got a service and a deployment. And the key here I just want to point out is we'll be using the value from our values file to substitute that in as an environment variable. So this data value is hello stranger. And this is also a YTT template. So when we apply these two files with YTT, we should expect that this environment variable that gets passed to our deployment will get substituted in here, as is the YTT fashion. See how our, okay, it's still working. So in order to create an ArgoCD application, we're going to create an application resource. This is a pretty simple resource. I added the sync policy to just like automatically deploy it. And it's pointing at that repo for a simple app on Kubernetes, watching this specific directory for changes. If any commits are published here, then it will redeploy this application with those new files. Important part, add this plugin config with the name Carvel YTT. And that will allow you to use the Carvel plugin. That Carvel YTT name comes from the patch that we did to the config map here. There is a bit of a little workaround here. So we're also creating an app project with name default. So this is just the default project that's like automatically in the cluster. And we need this because we're going to be referencing it in our application. There's a bit of a delay before the default project is actually created in the cluster. So we're creating it manually here so that the demo is smooth, but it shouldn't normally be necessary. Cool. Looks like our deployment succeeded. So let's also apply this application to the cluster. I'm going to call this Argo app. And it's going to create app project application. All right, so that should be all we need. It should be templating and deploying that application to the cluster right now. So let's inspect it. So first we need to just set the context, and then we can use the ArgoCD CLI to get the status of the app. So looks like things are synced and healthy. Got a service and a deployment here. Let's just view the app to see that it was deployed okay, and that we do see the hello stranger environment variable was templated correctly into our deployment. So I'm port forwarding here so we can see the app at this address. So there we go. Hello stranger was used in the deployment for our simple app. So our templates were evaluated properly by YTT using ArgoCD, and now we profit. So pretty cool. That's all. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Carrie, you were talking about the app project and application dependency. It looked like it all just worked nicely. Was that just happenstance, or was there a wait rule that you had to add, or yeah?
Oh yeah, good question. So I kind of glossed over that. If we had excluded this app project resource, what we would have seen when getting the status of the app, so this command here, ArgoCD app get simple app, we would have seen that it was not synced and healthy right away. And it takes about a minute to actually become synced and healthy, because that's about how long it takes to create the default project in the cluster. There seems to be a bit of a delay using the default project like right after creating the or right after installing ArgoCD into the cluster. There's a slight delay before the default project is available. So my suggestion is create it manually for the purpose of this demo, so that we don't have to sit here and wait about a minute until this becomes synced and healthy. But shouldn't be necessary in any use case outside of a demo. Normally that slight delay is not impactful.
Gotcha. Thank you. Very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Carrie? Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, Carrie, for showing us that. If you're watching this from home and you have any questions regarding the demo that you just saw, please feel free to reach out to us in the Kubernetes Slack workspace. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let me share my screen again. Okay, we have a couple of discussion topics. John, did you want me to let you take over as you go over this?
Yeah, actually, I could just talk to it real quick. I think the main point here is I wanted to just talk about this in our community meeting. I think most of the maintainers are already familiar. We've got this going. But really quickly, so added this little hackmd to be a simple introduction into our YTT validations proposal. In that hackmd, there's a link to a video. It's short, it's less than 15 minutes, and it's a it's a gentle on ramp onto like why are we doing this? What does it look like? What are the important parts in the proposal? If you wanted to just take a cursory look, where would you look? Because it's sort of a larger doc. And then links into both the rendered markdown, which is a much nicer way to navigate, and the PR, which is like one of the best places to drop feedback. Folks have been doing that. It's been great. There's a lot of folks actually in this room that have been pushing the conversation forward. Look at that, 43 comments. And then I've had some other stuff, folks coming in from Slack. This has been great. We've been getting a lot of community support around this, which means that as we get the first version of this feature out, it's going to look much more like something that solves your problems in the way you'd like them to. There's time. Garrett's already was talking about how we already broke ground and we're getting started. The stuff that we're doing right now is not controversial. It's like plumbing that we need to have in place. But there's still lots of opportunity here to influence and shape the way that this thing ultimately looks like. But the clock is ticking. So definitely would love folks to take a look. You can drop your comments in our public channel. In Kubernetes, there's a link to it there, or drop it on the PR. If you want to DM me, I'm JTigger on that Kubernetes Slack, whatever's going to be most convenient for you. Or you could show up here, and we'd love to hear from you. That's all.
Great, thanks, John. And you said the clock is ticking to provide feedback. Is there any sort of estimated deadline as far as when folks could add their comments? Like, what is there a stopping point where it's just we aren't able to take any more?
Not really. Like probably practically speaking, there's probably a couple weeks. But there are some features that we're planning on that's a little bit more advanced that might come in a second round. So there's some parts of the proposal. For example, the export to OpenAPI v3, including validation rules, is an example of that. That might be a little bit longer. You might have more time to kind of get in there and tell us about your use cases. Because we would love for example, for YTT schema to be the way that you get to describe your configuration API and be able to just export that to OpenAPI v3 for any tools that need that. So, but that's probably a little bit longer. So yeah, let's say a couple of weeks.
Cool, thank you. And that's also not to say if there is something that you have to share about this and it's been a few weeks, please do feel free to share it with us. We still want to hear about what your thoughts are regarding this.
That's it.
Okay, next up, Joao, talk about human readable tags.
Yeah, so I just added this here to tell everybody that the contribution period has ended and that we're going to implement the solution proposed there. We talked about that this last week to see if there was anyone that had any kind of concerns about the implementation. Since nobody reached to us having any concern, the idea is that if you go a little bit up, just to remind everybody, so there's going to be a flag on your this is going to be behind a feature flag. So if you want to activate this, you can activate this behavior. If not, it just keeps the current behavior. So every time that image package copies an image or a bundle from one registry to another, it will create automatically tags for each in one of the images. So this is a requirement because there are registries that require you to have it, or else it don't even allow you to push an image that doesn't have a tag. Or there's other ones that if the images are not tagged, the garbage collector will start this process and will clean these images. So that's why image package is providing automatically tags. And previously the tag was basically just the SHA of the image package, as you can see, like on the example there. And the idea here is that now behind this flag, this feature flag, the tag will be a little bit different, and it's going to contain part of the repository, origin repository name that will of the image. So if you see the example, like the last example there, like for example, for the myregistry.io/my super interesting product/application-power/controller, the name of the tag will be our interesting product application power controller -SHA, and we kept also the SHAs there. So there's also a limit of characters that we can use, but we think that that could be enough. So we're gonna go forward with this change. Alex already made some of the groundwork for this. There's a PR there. So I'm just going to review that PR and see if it matches with what we have here. And if it does, eventually we'll merge the PR and this feature will be active. So just an FYI that this is going to happen.
Great. Thanks, Joao. Any comments from the team regarding this? Anything they want to add? Nope. Okay. Anything that's come up? Any other discussion items before we part ways? Nope. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining this week's edition of the Carvel community meeting. As a reminder, we do meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So come join us live if you're able to. We'd love to meet you, love to hear how you're using the tools. If there's any feedback you have regarding all the items that we talked about in this meeting, we would love to hear from you. So please reach out on Slack. Let us know your thoughts. We can't build great products without knowing how y'all are using it and the best ways that you're using it. So with that, thank you, and we hope to see you soon.